Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're suitably refreshed. So I'm very happy to introduce Christine Rhone, who is our next speaker. Christine's a long-time friend of Gatekeeper, who is a writer and translator and event organizer, and is currently planning the Fifth John Michell Symposium in 2023. And Christine would like to speak to us on the Green Heart of Hope Garden, which was created in memory of the 72 victims of the Grenfell Tower Fire. So I'm very happy to hand over to Christine.
Hey, thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
We can,
yeah?
Christine.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Louise Coe for inviting me to speak at this conference. Art Rescues the Heart. I hope to bring another aspect of the meaning of these words in the sense of recent history and in a broader sense, in the sense of some of the ways that art can heal. Could I have my first slide, Amelia? Thank you. Okay, my talk will be in two parts. Here on my first slide, you see the words Hope Garden, a date, the 14th of June, 2017, and a location, North Kensington. Okay, for those of you not in the UK, that is part of London. And you see a heart colored green. The green heart has become a symbol of an important event. That was the fire in the Grenfell Tower. Grenfell Tower is a social housing block, 24 stories high, that was completed in 1974. Next slide, please. I was an eyewitness to this fire. At around 1 a.m. on the 14th of June, I was still awake, and I heard a helicopter buzzing around, going round and round, and then after a while, I heard more than one helicopter. One helicopter might not mean anything special, but more than one definitely would. Something was happening. So I cracked open the curtains on the glass door facing my back garden. Through the treetops in the next square, I could see a thin line of flames on Grenfell Tower moving slowly. I didn't sleep at all that night, but I was able to get the news from the internet as events unfolded. 72 people lost their lives in that inferno. This was triggered by the failure of an ordinary domestic appliance, but it spread and engulfed the building because of bad planning and the use of combustible cladding that helped spread the flames. And 5 years later, we're still waiting for justice. Next slide, please. The next day, I took some bedding that I could spare and went out into the streets to make a donation. By the time I got to the emergency shelters, they were already full up with bedding and didn't need any more. It felt like the whole community came together to help, donating food and what comfort they could. Pictures of the missing and the known victims began to appear on post boxes and walls. Familiar faces seen many times in the street passing by without knowing their names were suddenly named among the disappeared. The green heart came into being as a symbol of the unity of the community. The green color of leaves and plants, the renewal of vegetation and the rebirth of nature, of Mother Earth, is the color of hope and of hope for justice. Next slide, please. It's now been 5 years. Before the COVID lockdowns, we had marches on the 14th of every month to remember the victims and to call for justice. Today, we still have marches, but not so often. And here is some art coming to the rescue. The photo on the left is by Lee Laycock, who often posts excellent photos in the Ladbroke Grove, North Kensington community groups. This one shows a famous landmark in the neighborhood. That's Trollope Tower with a green heart you see at the very top in lights. It's light shining far into the night. We'll be seeing the same bridge and Trollope Tower again later on. On the right is a mural assembled by Paprika Scala Williams. She's a ceramic artist who works with Hot Stuff Studio Collective. This mural is again on the theme of hearts, each made by a different person and assembled into one big circle of unity. And this mural is on a wall facing Hope Garden. Next slide, please. And here's another artwork, an arch that is a physical and symbolic gateway, the entrance to Hope Garden. This is a garden that was begun on a disused piece of land just in front of Maxilla Walk, where people who were fleeing the burning tower went to get shelter on that terrible night. Today, this has become a garden that is filled with a good variety of plants, carefully tended by volunteers. It is filled with life, with affirmation, with spirit, and with love. The view of it comes as a surprise for unsuspecting passers-by. It provides an opportunity for rest and contemplation. This exact patch of land has no known ancient history dating back to the Iron Age, but it is a place of the ancestors, as a garden of remembrance. It is a place of history, and as such, for me at least, a place of pilgrimage. Next slide, please. And it's not hard to want to take a walk to this place, to Hope Garden, because there's always something to discover in every season, another plant or tree that's given colorful flowers, another climber that has grown fat, another tree whose leaves are turning in the autumn. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this garden produces babies too, but it's true that it's a place for young ones to enjoy. Many activities take place around the garden: poetry readings, shared meals, consultations, art activities, games. A recent donation has provided a few wood benches of Akoya wood inscribed with the memory of Grenfell that give a place to rest and relax, open to all. Next slide, please. So Hope Garden, to me at least, it's a work of art in itself and a very special place. It has many qualities associated with a sacred site without any direct reference to a particular god, goddess, spirit, or tradition. On the left is an extract from the ancient Vedas of India. I am a son of earth. The soil is my mother. May she lavish on me her manifold treasures, her secret riches. May we speak the beauty of thee, O earth. And on the right is a poem by Wendell Berry, The Peace of Wild Things. This gives the essence of what contact with nature can bring, maybe even just a small garden in a highly urban setting, maybe just even one blade of grass. He writes, condensed here, when despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I come into the peace of wild things. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Next slide, please. And here we see Marcia Robinson standing by Hope Garden in its lush greenery of summertime. Marcia has had a long career as a social worker and is now, so to speak, retired but working very hard. She's the lead volunteer of the garden and is engaged in many, if not all, of its official connections, its relationships with local government, the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, the Westway Trust, and other organizations. Marcia is also active in the Trees for Grenfell initiative to plant trees in North Kensington in memory of Grenfell and to green the environment. Next slide, please. Okay, on the left, we see a couple of flyers that show recent Hope Garden accomplishments. One is about mural making weekends, and the other is about community consultations. On the right is the cover of a brochure about an ecology center, which Marcia and her dedicated team would like to see built in a space right next to the garden. This would reclaim significant areas of hard paving. It would have several functions and provide a green curtain with plants growing completely over the building. This would filter the pollution and create habitat for insects, birds, and butterflies. This green curtain could in turn be used for study with local schools and universities. Next slide, please. Okay, now I would like to make a short sidestep and add something more about Marcia. She wrote a book about her father, which came out in about 2014. The title is Sledge, which is another name for her father, whose official name was Gladstone Alexander Robinson. Born in 1932 in Kingston, Jamaica, he came to live in the UK in 1958. He married and had a number of children and became a very recognizable figure in North Kensington, Ladbroke Grove. It was impossible not to notice him, maybe walking down Portobello Road. First of all, he was very tall. He seemed almost like a giant. Plus, he was crowned with immense and impressive thick gray dreadlocks that fell way down his back and out to the side. He was so striking that he was photographed for fashion magazines and had roles in films and TV. The picture on the right shows him face on. He's standing on the same bridge with Trellick Tower in the background that we saw earlier, with the green light in lights with the green heart in lights at the top. Next slide, please. And here we have one of Sledge's most beloved and influential childhood friends in Kingston. This is Mortimer Plano, who sent this photo to Sledge. And on the left is a letter that he wrote to him. Here I'm quoting from the back cover of the book Sledge, quote, Mortimer Plano took Sledge under his wing after Sledge had witnessed the slaying of his only brother Oscar on the streets of Kingston. Sledge was soon headed for England. By 1958, he had arrived with his Rastafarian faith and ideals right behind him, a total enigma to the local bobby on the beat. End of quote. Mortimer Plano was a renowned Rastafari elder in Jamaica and was the teacher of Bob Marley. Sledge, in turn, played a major role in bringing Rasta to the UK. He helped to set up the first Ethiopian Orthodox Church in London. All three men were musicians. Next slide, please. And this is the end of part 1 of my talk. If anybody would like further information about Hope Garden, see Just Solution 123 wordpress.com, and I've given a contact email for Marcia if anybody wants to get in touch with her. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here we're back to almost the same slide we saw before about places of inspiration. At the top left, we see another garden. This is an Egyptian garden in the afterlife, a garden for the deities and the ancestors. We've seen this slide before, but for one picture. Instead of Hope Garden in the center, we have Glastonbury Tor. Hope Garden is only 5 years old, while Glastonbury has been a place of pilgrimage for centuries. It continues to act as a magnetic and mystical center for Christians, non-Christians, esotericists, pagans, geomancers, followers of goddess spirituality, druids, earth energy enthusiasts, and many others. The place has inspired many books and festivals. Part 2 of my talk is about a well-known figure there, and that is John Michell, who wrote about Glastonbury, who returned to it often, who drew inspiration from it, and who gave the proportions of the famous pyramid stage at the Glastonbury Festival. Next slide, please. And here he is. And he was a close contemporary of Sledge's. Sledge was born in 1932 and died in 2008. John Michell was born in 1933 and died in 2009. John was a well-known English author and artist who lived much of his life in the same part of London as Sledge and who recognized him in the street. John wrote dozens of books. He became something of a cult figure in the early 70s with his book, The View Over Atlantis. This revived the story of leys, which some people call ley lines. And this is something that had been discovered by Alfred Watkins in the 1920s. The photo on the left is by David Speed, and the one on the right is by me, taken after a large gathering of Druids on Primrose Hill in the early 1990s. Next slide, please. This slide represents the most consistent element in all of John's work, and that is the canon of number, which John found expressed in the layout of Stonehenge. The central slide illustrates this. The canon of number is an expression of universal harmony and timeless truths. It can be seen either as number itself or as geometrical figures. John studied both with great intensity and drew endless variations on them. Stonehenge inspired something he called the New Jerusalem diagram, laid out in 12 parts, a recurrent number in the divine scheme. John often combined words with pictures. On the left, you see a painting of his with the words, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." On the right, another painting says, "The heavenly Jerusalem, 12 gemstones and the 12 fruits of the tree of life," followed by a short quote from the book of Revelation, "And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of nations." Next slide, please. Together with his obsession with number and proportion was a strong urge to push boundaries of belief. John Michell loved to question people's preconceptions. He wrote about unexplained phenomena, UFOs, and Shakespeare, and the Shakespeare authorship question. His books on ancient and sacred sites, geometry and number, were influential and popular, but remained rooted in classical philosophy and mystical thought. In his later years, he became a fellow of the Temenos Academy. This is an educational charity co-founded by the poet Kathleen Rhone. They organize lecture series, a 2-year study program in the perennial philosophy, and publish an annual journal, the Temenos Academy Review. At the bottom center, you see a quote by Kathleen. Against thee, nothing, one candle flame, one blade of grass, one thought suffices to affirm all. Yes, one blade of grass, hope. Next slide, please. And here we are at the end of my talk. In 2010, not long after John Michell had passed away, the Temenos Academy asked me to present a John Michell study day. I had worked with him on various projects and attended lectures at Temenos. This study day went very well and inspired me to propose more of them, which I do every so often. Coming up in 2023 will be the 5th John Michell Symposium, Saturday, the 10th of June. Venue is the Art Workers Guild in London, Bloomsbury. The overall aim, of course, is to explore the influence and contents of John's researches while providing a platform to extend and critique. If anyone would like to contact me, I've given my email at the bottom. Many thanks to all.
Thank you, Christine. That's fascinating and so lovely to see the hope arising and through that garden from the tragic events at Grenfell Tower. And perhaps nice to, although the injustice is still there and still a wound that hurts, it's so nice to see the hope growing with you know, the community coming together and the beauty of that garden.
Yes.
And thank you for the reminder of John Michell's inspiration for us all.
Okay.
Which you know, I think there are very few of us probably who haven't read many of John's books, and I hope many of us can make it to the symposium.
Would be wonderful. Yes, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine.
Yes.